Good Monday morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical updates. It is the 2nd of February, first day of the month, and this video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. Today, let's start with metals because that's of course the talk of the town or talk of the world at the moment in the financial markets. So here we have a gold spot that continued sell-off this morning in Asia, dipping below the support here at 4,555 and down to the 55 moving average. There's risk down to 4,270 area where we have some support in this consolidation area here. And weekly we can see also how massive this sell-off has been. And let me just have a look at intraday. We can see massive sell-off there, of course, here on the 1 hour chart. Massive volatility also, so a lot of uncertainty, a lot of nervousness. And if we just put it on there, we can also see quite a bit of a spread. Here we have bid and ask, quite a bit of spread also going on. So that indicates, and well, actually, it not only indicates, it shows the nervousness that is in the market. However, I do think we will see a correction coming in or a bias coming in at one point, but there's still risk down to, I think, around 42.70. I'm not saying it will go down there, but that is the risk at least. Let's see at the future what's been going on. Dipping below the support there. Also, it's a little bit different, obviously. At here around 4,560 and dipping also to the 55 moving average. So that seems to be a significant level. However, there is still risk down to 42.85, the support area here, just above the upper part of cloud. 100 moving, more than 100 moving coming up here, and so also here. Be careful what's going on. There could still be some selling pressure. Let's see what Europe is going to do here this morning. Silver almost down to the lower part of the consolidation area here. Consolidation area where we see we had a lot of volatility, a correction area, but well, it consolidated a little bit before the last leg up there. So the key question here is, will it bounce back and then crawl back above 81 and a quarter? Or will it also push to $70 here? It could still do it. RSI just above the 40 threshold. So really something to keep an eye on. I could imagine that it will bounce from around the lows, what we have seen today. And here have the silver future just dipped below the 55 moving average, just above 6,925. So just almost touched 7,000. It didn't do it at 7,120. Also, platinum, of course, hit by sell-off, actually went all the way down to the 1884. That was the low over here, and just dipped below the low here to what was it, 1880. So just touched that point there and bounced, and RSI just touching a 40 threshold at the moment. So I think we could see maybe a bit of a bounce here the next few days. And let's just talk about copper also. When we took out the minor support there at 569, just above the 55 moving average here at 553. So could also find some, I think we will find some support here, and I think the worst sell-off has been is done by now. But again, we never know in these panic times when things like that goes on. And then I'll move back to what has happened in the equities market, because it also affected the equities market, this sell-off there, and affected a lot of markets also. So Nasdaq 100 Friday, that also dipped lower. But again, Thursday was actually a little bit lower there, touching this falling trend line there. But here pre-market, let's see what's going on. It actually sold off a little bit further. So we are back in this triangle here. Lower rising trend line here, as we can see on the future, just above the cloud trading around the 100 moving average. Still positive sentiment. It hasn't been below a 40 threshold, but tested it here this morning. So that would be key what's going to happen. I think also we could see a bounce, but if it takes out the lows here from mid-January, at 25,025, well then next is 24,654, so that could be a bit of a pressure on it there. The S&P 500 index, well, it went to also a little bit lower, but still in a bullish trend, but it is a little bit of a worry that it couldn't close above the resistance there, that it actually started higher and then sold out. And let's see what's going on here. Pre-market, the S&P 500 mini future testing the 786 retracement there at 6,863, around the 55 moving average, still risk down to the 6,814 support, and where we also have the 100 moving average coming up. Moving on to the Dow Jones future, testing the support there at 48,488. And let's have a look at where was it? There we are. The Russell 2000 below the minor support there at 261. Could dip lower, and there are a lot of small mining companies in the Russell 2000, so that's also key to watch. What happened to some of the stocks in the US? Well, the Nvidia, not really much. Tested the resistance there before it couldn't go into a bullish mode, not completely at least. Oracle still sold off and dipping lower, and it looks quite heavy on Oracle, so that's one I wouldn't touch. But that's my personal. This is not a recommendation to sell or anything. And finally, Tesla was actually a little bit against the stream Friday, 3% higher, but still it is in a bearish trend, at least here short term. Moving on to the Asian market. So let's look at what happened in Hang Seng this morning. We had a sell-off in a 2.6% lower, taking back 50% of this uptrend here, taking back in a couple of days. Risk down to 26,264, where we have some support here, where we also have the 100 and the 55 moving average adding to that support, and also the other part of the cloud. So let's see if it can hold this and then bounce back. I will remove this one. Let's keep it. We can see it actually broken below its rising trend line there. In the Japanese Nikkei, basically just sideways, despite the fact we're down a little bit, about a percent this morning here on the Nikkei future, but in the bigger picture, it's basically trading sideways. European market that is about to open, and it has opened when you are watching this video, but it hasn't opened just yet. But you can see it's also Friday actually bounced quite nicely, but here pre-market this morning we can see EuroStoxx50 selling further again, and could dip down to 5,281. Let's see about that. I will check out for Fibonacci levels on this one, and we can see it's currently testing the 786 retracement there at 5,868. So really key to watch. RSI is still positive sentiment, but it's dipping, so there is a risk down to this support level there. DAX Friday also bounced from the 55 moving average, which is rising, but let's see here the pre-market, if it wants to come out from its hiding. We can see a pre-market dipped a little bit lower, almost to the 100 moving average there, but it's bounced here in the last few minutes or last hour or so. Let's see, can it get back above 24,476 and maybe stay above a little bit? Currently RSI testing for the threshold, which if it closes below, we are in a negative sentiment already, indicating it will be a bearish trend. But let's see, I think we could maybe see buyers coming in trying to lift it. Moving on to FX, and I know I take it not in the normal order. We'll be back to that tomorrow, I believe. But I think just so many people wants to know about what's going on in the gold and silver market, so I started with that. Here we have euro dollar in a correction phase, as we talked about Friday. Sold off Friday. Fairly calm this morning here, just above the 50% of this uptrend there at 118.25. And we have some support here and at 118. We could see it dipping down, but the bigger picture, positive sentiment, no divergence. We are in a bullish trend on euro dollar, as we can see here, also breaking out of this triangle there. Sterling dollar, also correction phase, but not that much actually. It's actually, for now, at least a minor one, dipping just below the 38.2 retracement there at 136.50, 53. If it takes out the lows here from today, then we could see it further down to below 136, maybe lower. But I actually think it will bounce back, and we're also in a bullish trend on sterling dollar there. Euro sterling, well, open lower today. But as we can see, we are in a bearish trend, lower, 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 high, lower, low, lower, high, lower, low. Can it bounce? It's again this falling trend line there. It hasn't been able to stay above. It spiked above a couple of times. We can see 55 moving average coming down. Negative sentiment on the RSI. And if RSI gets back and closes below back below 40, then I still believe there's the potential down to 86. But let's see in the next couple of days. Dollars, yen, in a correction phase after the massive sell-off that hit it end of January. Spiked up to the 50% almost, within a few pips from it at 155.65. Now setting back a little bit here. If it takes out the peak here from today, then I actually think we could get up to test the upper part of the cloud, the 55 moving average and the 61.8 retracement there at 156.50. So let's see what's going on. If it's keeps sliding now here, and if it's moved back below the 100 moving average, then we could see the support down here, 152, come under pressure. The euro yen basically stepping sideways, spiked a little bit up to the 50% of 184.30. Still above the cloud, above 55 moving average. Could crawl higher here in the coming days. If it takes out 181.50 here, well, then we're looking at levels possibly below 180. Aussie yen, bit of volatility this morning and also ended the week like that, just above the 786 retracement there at 108.37. So it's caught in this bit of range bound here, but still above the rising trend line there, despite the fact we have some divergence. So there is also indication that it is in a trend exhaustion, but for now it's still holding on above the rising trend line and support here at around 106, and that is key. If it starts taking out that, well, then suddenly we could see it lower to maybe 104. Sterling yen spiked to almost within a few pips to 61.8 retracement there, 212.83. Support at 209.5. That should be observed, and then 55 moving average coming up. But if it's taken out, well, then we could be looking at 207.5, 207. Aussie dollar sitting back to the 38.2 retracement there at 69.15. Correction could actually take it a little bit lower, but let's see about that, because we still have positive sentiment and there's no divergence, indicating likely higher levels after a correction. And I don't think the correction will be that big. I was actually expecting, when we saw that those moves in the metals market, that it will actually be a larger correction in Aussie dollar. But let's see about that. If it takes out the lows here this morning, well, we could see it down to around 68.60 or something like that. Dollar Canada bounced strongly to the 38.2 retracement, could bounce further to around 137 here, and then it could be a little bit of a struggle, but it's not unlikely it could bounce all the way up to 61.8 retracement there, just above 137.5. But downtrend is intact, and it will be for quite some time. As we can see, all moving averages 155, and now the 55 is breaking below the 200, and they're both declining. So we actually have a medium term to longer term death cross there, indicating likely lower levels on dollar Canada on the medium term at least. Sterling Canada bounced strongly this morning, opened at the lows from Friday, bounced strongly back to 187 almost, and I think it will continue its uptrend here in the coming days and weeks, unless it takes out the lows from today, but I don't think it will. I think it will bounce further. And what we can now do, we can then add a Fibonacci to it, try to estimate some levels there. And we are already taking back 50% of the sell-off there from last week, and I think we will continue higher here in the coming days, and also taking out the peak there. If it does, well, then we are up here at these peak levels here at just around 189.15 area. It could be a little bit of struggle, but positive sentiment, no divergence. I think we will get up there. Swiss franc, minor bounce continuing, and we could still see it bouncing up to around the 92 level there, but the trend is still bearish also on medium term, and we can see here on the daily 55 100 moving average declining. Well, the 200s is also actually, but they're declining, so the upside is limited, but again we could see it bouncing quite nicely to at least a 92. If it takes out the lows here from Friday, well, then there we are looking at 90 level. Dollar Swiss, more or less same picture really, bouncing, and I think we will see it touching the 38.2 retracement there at 77.65. I could bounce all the way up to 78.30 area here, but again, bearish trend is in a session, short term and medium term, and I think that will continue for quite some time. The dollar index, also in a bouncing mode, testing the minor resistance. It was a support here from 97.13. I think we could see it bouncing up to the 50%, and then I think downtrend will be back in session. But there is still potential up to 61.8 here at 97.80. So keep an eye on what's going on around the current peak levels here, around these levels there. Moving on to, and now we are, of course, let's just recap what's going on gold. It is bouncing nicely here at the moment above the support there, so keep an eye on what's going on throughout the day. A lot of volatility and a massive spread, so be careful if you're trading the metals. Also, we oil got hit by sell-off here from early morning, after here WTI being rejected at the resistance here at 66.42. Dipping to the currently at the 61.8 retracement there at 61.67. If it takes out the lows from this early morning here, well, we could see it down to around $60.5, $60 here, where we have stronger support. Could also turn around here. Positive sentiment indicating likely high levels, and I think we will see higher oil levels on the medium term, but very volatile and nervous market, so I think we could turn around there. The Brent crude oil actually did close above its resistance up there, but also massive sell-off being hit late Friday, continuing this morning, very close to the 786 retracement there, 65.11, currently around the 200 moving average. Also positive sentiment on the other side. I think we will see it turning around slowly here over the next few days. Key support down here at 63.25, but then we have the 55 moving average coming out. We also have the 100, so some strong support. I don't think we will see it taking out these lows. I think we will see it turning around. European NatGas sell-off this morning has hit the EU NatGas market. And let's just add a Fibonacci to it so we can see these levels being kicked in. Very close to the 61.8 retracement of this uptrend there at 33.29. Could test it. after taking out the minor support there. And then we have some support in this area with the 200 moving average. So I think we can see it dipping down there, possibly lower, but again, positive sentiment still. But there is divergence. See, it was declining when market moved higher. So it was in a bit of exhaustion mode. However, if it turns around and moves back above 37.50, then I think we will see down uptrend resuming. But for now, in a correction mode, could push down here. And it's not unlikely all the way down to around the 30.5 level, where we have some stronger support with the 55 and the 100 moving average. It seems to be very nervous, and they can't really make up its mind what's going on with the weather in Europe. Here we have the continuous future on the US NatGas future. That the previous future, the February future, was up at $7.40 plus, and then it collapsed. It didn't really do that. It was because we had a future rollover. So now we are trading the March future, and it's down here around the 200 moving average and the 357. And let's just have a look at that future. You can see it was up at 442.43. And then this morning here, it's collapsing. Maybe they are promising milder weather in Northern America. I haven't checked the weather forecast over there. It has been pretty cold, I will say. Could slide lower to the 55 moving average and the lower part of the cloud, and 350 support area here. However, we still have positive sentiment on the other side, so there is risk to the upper side again. The US 10-year Treasury yield, still a little bit of bouncing mode, but has sat back here this early morning. 420 support still key, and I still believe we will see higher yields on US in the near future. In the European 10-year, testing the lower rising trend line there, sideways trading really here at 277 and up to the peak levels there at 292. So that's the range it has to break out of, and then we have the previous peak over there at the 294. So basically range trading. I wouldn't be too worried or concerned if it's trading sideways out of this rising trend line there. So still it's a 277 support. The UK 10-year rejected up there at 456 and could sit back a little bit further. 55 moving average, however, turning around, and that is giving a little bit of support here around 447. The 10-year in Japan, testing the lower rising trend line. It's still in a bullish trend, even if it takes out, but it could be a warning that it could set back further to maybe 213. Bitcoin has been hard hit here also over the weekend and late last week, down to support area around 74,420, and we can see if we zoom out even further, this is where it's coming from. And if it takes out these support levels there at 74,400, well, then there's certainly further downside risk to the 60s. 70,000 and 64,000. Ethereum, more or less the same picture, taking out support and is looking lower. Some support there at 2,100, could slide back all the way to a 1,750 area, possibly lower. All right, that's all for today. A little bit of a long one, but there's also a lot to talk about. So be careful out there, especially if you're trading metals, but other markets could be quite volatile today. Have a nice day.